Mr. Fix-It is here to take on your DIY dilemmas. Text or WhatsApp to 083 3010 103.
Good morning.
Top of the morning to you.
So, will we get down to business? We couldn't talk about the usual rubbish that we normally,
That we've just done for the last 5 minutes.
Any crack, any scandal, etc., etc. So we'll instead just deal with the questions, because we actually have quite a lot to get through today.
Okay.
And Anne is the first person to call, saying that her daughters, as well as herself, deathly afraid of spiders. And we're not even joking about this. It's actual spider phobia, arachnophobia, whatever it's called, she says. But for some reason, in the last few days, the house is crawling with them. And I swear, one as big as my hand appeared the other day. I managed not to say it to the girls, even though I know their fear of spiders comes from me. Is there anything I can do to scare them off?
The girls? Oh, the spiders.
The spiders.
Oh, sorry, the way you said them, and you put the girls and them in the same sentence. Yeah, it's funny. I was just saying in the newsroom, I was waiting to come in here and I was saying it's incredible. I don't know what. I suppose this is an unusual. Well, I suppose first of all, maybe the fine summer. We've had so many people come into the shop with spider problems in the last week or 10 days, just since the weather got cold, and so that's what happens. It's cold and wet outside, and the weather suddenly changed, as you know. You know, it was fabulous dry weather for a long and warm for a long time, and then suddenly gets cold. So suddenly the spiders are in their droves, and I suppose that lady says we do pass on our phobias to our kids. So when you react to something like a spider, by jumping and screaming and running, your kids do pick up on that. So if you can, it's very easy to say it, but if you can, try to avoid it. But the other thing,
This is the psychology slot.
We cover everything here, absolutely everything. Well, speaking of which, here's the thing. So, as I say, maybe 20 people in the last 2 weeks, but early on, something came up, and I just asked the question, because I don't like daddy longlegs. No, I'm not terrified of them or anything, but we all have phobias. We all have things we really can't, and it can be, what's the one where people have a fear of little holes in things? Like they can't look at something with a whole lot of tiny little holes in it. So anyway, we all have phobias, but
spending money is
yeah, spending money is definitely yours. I think that's common knowledge.
Manual labour.
Yeah, that's probably up there for you as well, fair dues. But everybody I asked since, because I was curious when I'd get into a chat if it wasn't too busy, none of the people I spoke to that had a complete and utter phobia about spiders have any problem with daddy longlegs.
That's odd.
Isn't it? Like one of them said, oh, no, if I see a daddy longlegs, I'll open the window and I'll grab it and I'll throw it out the window. I won't kill it. And the same person will run screaming from a spider. It's funny.
Is it because the body of the spider is a bit bulkier, they look more dangerous?
I don't know. It's interesting. And
do you have more heebie-jeebies about daddy longlegs than
a fear?
Yeah.
I don't like them. No, honestly, I would do the same. I'd grab it and throw it out the window rather than kill it. But not a fan for some reason. I don't know why.
By the way, we're 5 minutes in. We haven't answered the question.
Well, what's the question again?
How scared them off? Get rid of them.
The other thing, just to say, when in the winter, all winter long now, we'll be talking about mice and rats. And there's an ongoing thing in the hardware trade that no one in Ireland has ever seen a small rat. Everyone comes in and says, oh my God, I saw a rat. It's as big as a cat. And they're holding up their hands, 2 foot apart. It was this big. And that seems to have started with the spiders now. People are saying just how big they are. So I don't know if it's a different variety. I don't know what's happening. But they certainly seem to be big. People, they can hear them. They can hear them on the tiled or the laminate floor.
Realise.
Oh, sorry.
You
okay.
are genuinely scaring people now.
So the best thing at this time of the year to do is to one or two things, but I think the first one for spiders generally would be to get a residual insecticidal spray. So that's something like Insectrol or Deathlac, and all of these sprays that are residual now. So they're not like a fly spray, they are residual. You don't spray them on the insect, you spray them on a surface, you spray them around your windows, you spray them around the door jambs and around the bottom of the door. And what happens is, if an insect crawls over them, they die. So you're just keeping them out of the house, or from being alive in the house is really what it amounts to. And that's probably, so Insectrol is probably the best. It is the best of them. A close second is Deathlac. There are various different other ones, but they're the two that would have the strongest insecticidal aspect to it. There is also a thing called a bug bomb, which is a little thing that you put a match to, and it burns for, it smoulders for 3 hours, and it kills every spider in there, but it doesn't stop the ones that are going to come in the future. So that's why I think the residual one is better for you.
A very proud listener says, this week I battled my spiders. My outside home office was covered in them, so I used the bug bomb, followed up with the Insectrol around the windows and the doors. No more spiders.
Great stuff.
I got rid of 2 spiders last night. I was going to charge them rent. They were that big.
Yeah, they're everywhere this summer, or this winter, I should say. When's winter officially start? Is it September or October?
Oh, it's not for a while yet. It's autumn. Stop.
Autumn.
Stop. Don't mention that word.
Autumn. I mean, you should have said
a picture of, this is not a spider. This guy looks like a little lizard.
A lizard or a gecko or something. So
Gecko the gecko.
Yeah, what's the question? Oh, for spiders?
It's just Teresa in Dangan sharing that she found one.
Oh, well, he'd probably eat spiders.
Actually, that's a good
Maybe
point.
you could breed them and sell them.
No, we don't really want too many reptiles in the country.
One of you is enough.
Well, my phobia would be snakes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's totally irrational because thankfully there are none in Ireland, at least of the slithery variety, at least. It's 25 to 11. More questions for Brian in just a moment.
Mr. Fixes with Brian Cloonan. Call 0818 300 183 and put our toolman to the test.
Indeed, or text 083 30 10 103. Send your voice note as well if you wish. And you could become caller of the day and enjoy front row tickets to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which will be in Esker Arts in Tullamore, as you heard, from the 22nd to 27th of September.
Which, funny enough, is a film I sometimes think of when I think of you.
That I'm a bit cuckoo. Yes, indeed. Now, here's a question that perhaps those petrol heads among the listeners may have solutions for, or maybe you have one yourself, Brian, but how to clean your headlights properly ahead of an NCT?
Yeah, I've noticed a few cars lately where they're really very cloudy. And because I noticed that, I asked Thomas in Burns Autos in Tullamore, and I remember him telling me that you can get a headlight restoration kit. Now, you need an electric drill, so it basically uses like super fine sandpaper, but it's in the form of what's known as a polishing mop. So it's a little thing that goes in it's mounted. It's designed for mounting. It's not flat sandpaper. It's designed for mounting on the drill, and you start with very fine sandpaper. It's not sandpaper, a very fine polishing mop, and then you go to a very, very fine, and then you go to a really, really fine. So it leaves the thing. It works really, really well. And then I think the kit also includes a sealer, if I remember correctly, that you put on afterwards to stop the discoloration from happening again in the future. Now, it does cost, I think it's somewhere between 20 and 30 euro, but your lights are brighter at the end of it. You know, there's a reason they don't pass the test if it's very cloudy, because it does obstruct the brightness of the lights. So your lights are brighter, so you're driving a safer car if the headlights are clear as opposed to very white and cloudy. So there is logic to it, and it doesn't require a huge skill set, but it does require a cordless drill or a cordless polisher or whatever.
Liz has a black stove. She's wondering what sort of paint will stay on it.
So you have 2 options there. One is to use a stove polish. So a stove polish comes in a tube, like a tube of toothpaste. Don't mistake it for toothpaste.
Oh, God.
But
well, you could have very shiny teeth, could you?
Yeah, well, they'll be very, very black, shiny teeth. So it depends how I painted mine once, and then we switched over to the polish, because really with a stove you'll find it's only about 10 to 20% of it that gets a bit shook looking. And if you use paint, you have to paint 100% of it. Whereas if you use the polish, you only have to polish up the bit that's bad. And using paint, so what sort of paint? You get a heat-resistant paint, you can get a brush on, they work really well. You can get a brush on or you can get a spray on. The spray on is technically better, but you have to make sure and mask off everything. So you're using newspaper on the ground and newspaper on the wall, but it does work really, really well. So if it's in really bad condition, you'd go with the paint because it'll bring it right back to looking as good as new. If you're using the brush on, you still mask off the glass, but obviously you have more control over a brush. If you're using the polish, what you would do is, instead of using a cloth, which is what often it says on the packet, use a cloth, use a pair of shoe polish brushes. A lot of houses have shoe polish brushes that never ever get used anymore. They can have been used in the past. It's fine. Get a pair of shoe polish brushes that have been used, put on the polish with the brush first, leave it a few hours, and then buff it up. And the reason the brush is much better is that, well, two reasons. One, with a cloth, a lot of it goes into the cloth. But the real reason you're using a brush is all the little crevices, all the little angles and joins, you can get the polish building up there. And then when you light the stove, there's a lot of smell comes because there's a thick little angle of paste built up there. But if you use a brush, the bristles remove all the excess. When you're buffing up afterwards with the polishing brush, any excess is gone. But it does a fantastic job. But it means then, in a month's time, you have your two brushes, you have your half-used tube of paste, you just go out and do the areas that look bad. And it's really only a few minutes of a job then to do a maintenance on it.
Very helpful message from Leo, who shows me a picture of a headlight restoration kit, which is on sale from Holt's. So you have abrasive polish, headlight sealer, microfiber cloths, abrasive discs, polishing head and a drill adapter.
Wow.
All in the kit.
Brilliant.
Nice one. Thanks, Leo. Tommy reckons the listener in Dangan has a native common lizard. They're quite small and are usually found in damp places in the countryside, but
native.
Are completely harmless.
And native. Wow.
So he says. And they hunt insects. And
Great.
I would trust Tommy because he also texts occasionally as Joe, Paolo, Jimmy, and so on. Maria says, I have a steamer and the spiders, it cleans the entire house, and so on, and slán leat spiders. So you can take different approaches there if you like. Now, next question. Is there a clear lacquer that you could apply to concrete, to wall cappings and so on from Brian?
Oh, sorry, the question's from Brian. A different Brian.
Hi, Brian, from Brian.
Yeah. I don't recommend it because... so if you're not going to paint your wall cappings or whatever, just clean them every now and again. You can spray on an algae killer. Funny enough, if you rub them with a very fine sandpaper, it's a really quick job. So I made a policy decision that we wouldn't paint our windowsills because it just suits the style of the house and not laziness.
A policy.
Yeah, well, I know if you go to paint windowsills, there's a lot of concrete in windowsills and it's very hard to get the paint to stick to it. You have to go through a whole process. But I rub a bit of sandpaper over my windowsills once a year. It takes... it might take half an hour to do all the windowsills, but it brings them back snow white. Now, if you put on a sealer, yes, you can. You can put on a sealer. You can put on path and patio sealer, but you can never paint them once you put on a path and patio sealer. But if you want to do that, it will keep it clear. It will help dramatically to keep them clear because the water doesn't soak in, and the fact that the water doesn't soak in means that they don't get green, they don't get dirty as quickly.
Now, still to come on Midlands 103, today we bring you to the picket line as school secretaries and caretakers continue their strike action. Also, Film Offaly proudly presents a screen adaptation of Eden, and Eugene O'Brien will be here to share that story. Plus, what you've missed from the latest episode of Traitors. And if you've ever considered a career with the emergency services, do stick around until 12.
Mr. Fix-It is here to take on your DIY dilemmas. Text or WhatsApp to 083 3010 103.
there has been a disturbance in the force. I just gave Cloonan a compliment about his shirt.
I'm still reeling from a compliment about what I'm wearing off. Now, mind you, you notice he said it off air. He's not going to pay any compliments on air because that would be recorded.
Sorry. Michael in Tullamore asks, is there a good paint you could use on tarmac, or would it never last?
I used to say that it won't last, but we've sold tarmac paint and it seems to have lasted remarkably well. I didn't feel that it would. Well, when I would sell it, I would say to people...
just going to recap. I always felt it would never last, but I sold tarmac paint.
Oh yeah, no, to people, what I would say to people is, I don't know, like if I sell something that I don't know, I can't make promises on, like I don't always believe manufacturers, but so there were cases where there was a damage done to tarmac and they said, look, it's worth taking the chance, it's only costing X, I'll try it and see. But the feedback on it has been really, really very positive. So there are different brands out there, Everbuild, Sickens. They're water-based, they're easy use. Now, to be honest with you, your window may have sailed a little bit in that you need a dry 48 hours. It's really important you clean it really well. Obviously, if you have tarmac of its nature, it's basically a flat surface full of pebbles, and therefore it has loads of gaps and holes in it. And if those little hollows are filled with clay and dust which can form from the wind, when you paint it, then you're not painting, the paint isn't going on top of tarmac, it's going on top of dust, and when it gets wet then that's going to end up coming off. So it's really important, if you're going to paint it, that you get it really, really clean first, and don't use a roller, even though some people will say you'll do a better job with a roller. Technically, in how it looks, it'll be easier to use a roller and it might look just as well, but a brush works it into the surface much better and does a much better job because of the nature of bristles brushing it in as opposed to just rolling across the surface. But if the tarmac's bad, only if it's bad, yes, the tarmac paint works quite well. Or alternatively, you can go to one of the tarmac people and they'll come in. Now, one of the real tarmac people, not somebody who happens to be, in inverted commas, down the road doing work for the council. And of course, the council have never heard of them before. But some of the good tarmac people will come in and spray the tarmac with actual tar, if you want.
It must be hard to sell tarmac if you are a legitimate person.
Yeah. Well,
you nearly have to carry all your proofs with you.
Yeah.
Laura says her husband made a bed frame out of MDF and painted it, but there is still that smell of MDF in the room. Is there a way to get rid of it?
Well, did he paint the entire thing? So I would suggest he may have only painted the parts that are seen. So if you make a bed, you don't see the underside of the bed at all. So paint everything and you're sealing everything in. It can be clear varnish. It can be an acrylic clear varnish. Acrylic means water-based, means no smell. You don't have to be particularly careful with it because it's going to dry out crystal clear.
But if it's fully varnished or painted, then that MDF smell shouldn't be able to escape.
It shouldn't be able to escape, exactly. And then it's just really time and ventilation, unfortunately. Now, you can put in charcoal that absorbs smells. You can put in, the painters used to always, years ago, use onion. I never understood if that absorbed the smell or you just smelled of onion. I don't know. But most chemical things that claim to get rid of the smell don't really. Now, there's one for you. I spoke to somebody recently who, and I actually meant to do a lot more, but I spoke to somebody whose opinion I respect. She has an engineering background, and she bought, first she hired and then she bought an ozone machine. So you put in the ozone machine into your sitting room and all smells are gone. So we may do a little bit of research on that and see how exactly it works. I don't understand it, but by all accounts, she said it works really, really well.
We could do with one in here.
Only on a Wednesday, I know.
Next, what is the best way to clear moss from a slated roof? I don't want to cause leaks by power washing afterwards.
Yeah, so just put on a good moss killer. Actually, we had a guy in, I must ask him to see, next time I see him, do you take a photo? So he did half his roof with a particularly good moss killer, and a full year ago, and it was the back of the house, but it was really bad, natural slate, and he did half of it, and just no more than myself, start a job, never get back to do the rest of it. And he said, I was just coming up I was down in the very back of the house doing work on cutting the hedge, and I looked up and I realised, oh my God, half of the roof was perfectly clean. So he never washed it off. He just let it fall off. You know, a heavy rain, if you leave it long enough, it'll fall off. Now, you can also, once it's dead, you can get a stiff brush. I mean, the caller is right. If you try and power wash off live moss, it takes a lot of pressure to take it off, and you can potentially do damage. If the moss is dead, you can go for a gentle power washing, and some of the power washing people use, they don't get up on the roof at all, which I think is great. Because you don't have someone standing on the roof and putting pressure on natural slate. It's actually originally designed for cleaning patios. It's like a pudding bowl upside down with a little spinning double spinner inside or triple spinner inside, and they have that at the end of a very long rod. So you put on the moss killer, and then you can wash off with that, or a stiff brush at the end of a painter's extension handle. Once the moss is dead, it'll come off relatively easily.
Yeah, getting access to the roof is the challenge.
That's the big thing, safely. And always, if you're getting someone else to do it, make sure they have public liability insurance.
Yeah, don't do as I did. So get the knapsack and try and contort out the dormer windows.
You feckin' idiot.
Yeah. So I got bits of it. You see this strange sort of pattern where the algae killer reached.
You really will do anything to save money. Sorry, not to save money, just not to spend money.
Anyway, let's move swiftly on. So the next question... where is it gone? The next question has disappeared. I think that's it for today then.
All right, Will. That was an absolute pleasure.
Yes, it was. I know it's here somewhere, and I just can't bloody well find the thing. So yeah.
So just keep talking and saying nothing until the weather's terrible, and you're definitely not running for president.
Definitely not. Are you?
Sure. I think you'd make it.
No. But I might have the rear of the year. And if you reckon you have the rear of the year, because I can't enter, then go to Midlands103.com. We are talking about rear gardens, by the way, a chance to show off your hard work, your creativity, all that you have poured into your outdoor space. And we are looking for your name, your email, your phone number, what makes your garden special, and of course, a few pictures as well. And then you can be a winner with thanks to Patrick Mitchell and Company Limited. David Hollywood is here for the final hour of the programme after the news.